You are listening to 105.9 FM The Radiator, WOMMLP Burlington, and now begins Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK, and tonight we have Dylan Patrick Ward. How are you doing, Dylan?
Doing great, thank you.
And we usually like to kick off the show with a song, so go ahead and play your first song for us.
Sure. This is a song called Little Green Men. Dad was in the army and your mom dropped out of college, working at a hotel, living in your dead aunt's house. Got a 4-year party and a whole lot of useless knowledge. One bad day away from emptying your bank account. Money's tight, but you're always at the bar. Those are UFOs, not shooting stars. You're a real nice guy and everyone seems to like you. Not bad looking and people always say you're smart. There ain't much about life left to excite you. You got a new beer belly, gray hairs and a broken heart. Hold your breath every time you start your car. Get upset every time you can't see Mars. Got a cousin down south who thinks that the world is ending, but he's got guns and dry goods to see him through. But you can't think of a message that's worth sending to little green men who are looking after you. You hear a little voice outside the bar telling you to stay right where you are.
Awesome. Little Green Men by Dylan Patrick Ward. So why Little Green Men? How did these ideas come to you?
That specific one, I was just trying to write about a certain kind of character. A lot of friends of mine and people that I know are sort of that character. They're like in their late 20s, early 30s, and a lot of those realities of their life are true. They don't have a lot of money, and they're kind of aimless in life. But I was trying to write the song, and it wasn't really clicking until I added the part that the guy in the song is also really into aliens and believes in aliens and UFOs, and that gives some kind of meaning to his life. So
Gotcha.
just kind of helped it click.
Yeah. So there's a definite sort of like storytelling element to your music and the concepts behind the songs. Is there sort of a story behind your own storytelling process?
Yeah. When I was a little kid, I liked to write stories, and I wanted to be a fiction writer for a little while when I was first got out of college. But songs were sort of easier for me to write, and it was a medium that worked better for me and made more sense. But I always wanted to be in some kind of storytelling medium.
Do you kind of find the, the themes that are like were prevalent when you were younger sort of have stuck around, or do you think, because sort of like the fantasy element, I guess, with like aliens?
Yeah, I guess kind of the weird cartoony aspects of what I do is definitely probably influenced by things that I was into as a kid.
Awesome. Well, we also were kind of dying to know, can you tell us about the Dirty South?
Yeah, so I'm from Bellows Falls, Vermont, which is in the southern part of the state. And I don't know, the Dirty South is, I think it was originally a hip-hop terminology for a certain kind of hip-hop that came from, I think, Texas or maybe Memphis. And I kind of just appropriated it for music coming out of the southern part of Vermont. And particularly music made by me and friends of mine. I started this, the Dirty South songwriting circle that happens in Bellows Falls. once a month at this place called the Flatiron Cooperative. So it's kind of like a non-existent kind of collective / network of musicians and songwriters kind of that I'm trying to put together.
Yeah. So the whole songwriting circle, you started it up. Do you kind of co-write songs together, or do you assist other people in kind of their own
No,
art?
it's like a songwriters in the round. So there's me and 2 guests every month, and we just take turns playing our own songs
Oh, nice.
for like an audience of people.
Gotcha. So everybody kind of gets their own spotlight
Yeah.
rather than...
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's like a regular show, but it's just a more mellow version of it.
Gotcha. I love that. So another thing that you kind of referenced, the darkly comical themes, is comedy sort of something that you were, into?
Yeah, actually, around the time I was trying to write fiction, I also tried stand-up comedy. I went to college here in the Burlington area, and the last year that I was here, I did stand-up comedy around town a little bit. So yeah, comedy was always a big thing for me.
And so you just released an album just in 2022. Would you say that these sort of like themes, comedy, aliens, all that, all are in your album? Can you kind of tell us about the inspirations for that particular project?
Yeah, so Lovable Losers was an album I put out in January, and it the influence behind that was I'd recorded everything so far that I'd put out just in my room by myself with a laptop, and I wanted like somebody else to record it and make it a little bit nicer and use some better mics and stuff, and so I recorded that album at a friend of mine's house. But lyrically and thematically, it definitely draws on what I was doing in the other albums, which is kind of telling stories about these kind of outcasted, marginalized figures. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the recording process by yourself, you began that in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
That's when I first started putting it. I put out the first album was Queen of Wall Street, and I put it out in February of 2020.
So why 2020? Is it anything to do with the pandemic? I know we have a lot of people that come in here that sort of, that was like their time to really create.
The first one was just a coincidence. It came out actually slightly before the pandemic really took off. But I think because I put out 4 in 2020, and I think I probably would not have put out 4 if not for the pandemic.
Right.
Because I was just kind of like, I would write some songs and then put an album out for something to do, and I'd get bored again and do another one. So
Yeah.
definitely. Since the restrictions have lightened up, I've released less music.
So the previous albums from 2020, 2021, were those all self-recorded then, or did you
Yes.
also? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for your setup at home versus kind of getting help in that area?
Yeah, I really don't particularly like the recording process. I find it very frustrating to play the same song over and over again, and I don't really have I'm not really good at figuring out how to do things with sound and with the computer, and I'm not super savvy with that stuff. So my home recordings were I just had a really cheap music software on the computer, and I would just hit play on the computer and play the song. And sometimes I would do 2 takes, sometimes I would just do 1 because I don't know, I'm really lazy. So I think I like to do it that way better. But it was fun to have someone else help me with the recordings, and that was nice too. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it in the future.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes it can be overwhelming to have to navigate all of the technology. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, we would love to hear another song. So
Yeah, could I get some water? This is a song I actually co-wrote with a singer-songwriter from Saratoga, New York, named Clinton Hoffman. And I hadn't met him when we co-wrote it. We co-wrote it over a Facebook Messenger. I hadn't met him in person yet. I did meet him in person last weekend. We played a show together. He has a band over in Saratoga called Brain Medicine. The song is called Can't Live Anywhere. Can't live in the city 'cause I ain't got the money. I hate driving in traffic and think all the wrong stuff's funny. Can't live in the country 'cause I hate working, bearing all those burdens that I'd rather be shirking. Can't live alone or else I'd be blue. But if we moved in together, I'm sure I'd grow to hate you, and you'd grow to hate me. Wouldn't want me there. Oh, a man like me can't live anywhere. that I may drown in some horny alligator wears my snakeskin boots to town. Can't live by the cornfield, might get lost. Start making crop circles in the shape of the Holy Cross. Can't live alone, can't stand myself. I need a good distraction as much as anyone else. So I beg you please, forgive my stare. Oh, a man like me can't live anywhere. Yeah, a man like me can't live anywhere.
Can't live anywhere. So, co-writing over Facebook Messenger, that is a pretty unique experience, I would say. Can you kind of take us through that? How did that work out?
Yeah, so I was part of this thing called Sip and Stream that's run by these folks over in upstate New York. And they stream videos of people's songs, like on a live stream, and people can watch it. And one of my videos, a video of a song of mine was on there. And then I got a Facebook message from this guy who had seen it, and he really liked it. And then I listened to his stuff and liked it. And then we just started talking over Facebook Messenger and decided to collaborate. We have kind of similar senses of humor, and our music is very similar. So, yeah, it was just kind of a
match
kind of a
made in
no-brainer.
heaven.
Yeah. And he said we should collaborate sometimes. Then on the way to work the next day, I came up with an idea for a song. So,
Well, perfect. Do you kind of have a preference? Do you enjoy co-writing with other people? Have you done that in the past, or are you usually more kind of a solo writer?
I'm usually more of a solo writer, but I've co-written a few songs, and they were all really fun. So, it's something I'm open to.
Yeah.
I do enjoy it.
What is sort of the, I guess, the process of, coming up with songs and writing songs for you? Do you have a certain process that you go by, or like what comes first to you?
Yeah, I usually have a line for the song, and then it's usually the first line, or I have an idea of a character, and then from the character I kind of get an idea of a line, and then the rest of the lyrics kind of come tumbling from that first line, usually. And, sometimes it's harder to like put it together. Sometimes it comes really fast, but usually if I get like a good first line, the rest of the song kind of comes relatively quickly.
Do you tend to write the full lyrics before adding instrumentation?
It's usually the first line has kind of a melody that it comes with, just sort of in my head, and then I'll figure out the chords for it, and then I'll write the rest of the lyrics. So it's lyrics, music, then lyrics again.
Gotcha. Yeah. Interesting. So when did you start writing music?
I wrote my first song when I was in college, which was a few years ago. I think it was like 2014 or 15 maybe when I wrote the first one. But I only wrote like a few over like that 5-6 year period. And then like in 2019, towards the end, it really started to pick up.
Yeah. So would you say the writing process is sort of, in a way, kind of like newer to you? Were you playing instruments before sort of writing your own stuff?
No, I didn't really. I played a little bit of guitar. I knew some very basic things. I still only really know some very basic things. But no, the writing definitely was the first thing. And like as I said before, I was writing stories and trying to do comedy. And I did theater when I was in school. And kind of songwriting was just the one that I eventually found was the one that worked. That was the good fit for me. So.
Yeah. Do you kind of have a story behind, discovering that talent that you had for the first time?
Yeah, I guess so. I had a friend of mine got me and him a gig opening for a band that had friends of his for like a Christmas show, and he knew that I played guitar and sang, and he did too. So we were just gonna play like Christmas covers, and this was Christmas of 2019, and then he asked if I wanted to write a song with him, and we kind of, like I said, I'd written songs before, but not many that I liked. And we sat down and wrote it together, and it just, it came out really quickly, and I liked it. And it was funny and silly, and it just kind of opened up something in me of like, oh, I could write, maybe this is how I should be writing songs. Like, this is a way that could work for me.
Yeah, totally. So in terms of where you're at with your writing right now, are you working on new stuff? Are you kind of focusing on, playing and perfecting what you've just released?
Yeah, I kind of like almost, I think because I put out so much stuff in 2020, I'm almost like self-conscious if I only put out like one album in a year or something. I almost like kind of feel like I should be writing more stuff, but I haven't been writing more stuff. I've been playing out a lot and focusing on that. I'm thinking maybe towards the end of the year I might like shut the playing out down for a little bit and focus on trying to write some more stuff, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, do the songs sort of, I mean, can you sometimes like focus and dedicate the time and write a song, or do they kind of come to you more sporadically?
Yeah, usually they'll come like in a chunk, and it's a time when I kind of have to sit down and make myself do it.
Yeah.
Usually that's how they come out the best. They come in like a group over a relatively short period of time.
Nice, yeah.
After like not writing them for a while.
That's interesting because I feel like the process is, different for different artists and how, the inspirations come to them. So very interesting. All right. Well, we would love to hear another song. So what have you got for us?
So play this one. This is a song about like living a certain kind of lifestyle and realizing maybe in like a flash of insight that you can't go on like that anymore. It's kind of loosely based on things that me and my friends did in high school. It's called A Weird Night. Fell asleep in a blind man's arms. It was a weird night. Woke up next to a mastiff dog. It was a weird night. There were cigarettes and the birthday cake. Two men came to take Joey away, and we're sitting at a diner at 5 a.m. hoping that he's alright. It was a weird night. It was a weird night. You got 2 less teeth and 2 new tats. It was a weird night. Guy with a red hat, guy with a blue hat got into a fist fight. Tom took a trip out to outer space, and then he tried to rip all the skin from his face. And if we hadn't have tied his wrist up, he might have scratched away his eyesight. It was a weird night. It was a weird night. Spent the night in the laundromat with her clothes all wet with rain, wondering why each night turns out the same. Could really use some Chinese food, or really any food at all. Gotta get my act together. I gotta get my act together. Well, the night that you left and you didn't come back, it was a weird night. The bathroom mirror was full of cracks, and I stared into it all night, wondering where you had gone, and what it was that I'd done wrong. Well, I guess you meant it when you said that you were done with this life. It was a weird night. It was a weird night. It was a weird night.
Awesome. Thank you. So, I mean, you obviously have this great, storytelling aspect, as we've said. Have you thought about at all, have you done any music videos or thought about doing anything of the sort?
Yeah, I've kind of thought about making music videos, but I don't know. I've never had like a great idea for one that really made me want to do it. The song Can't Live Anywhere has a music video that my friend Clinton made, and he makes music videos really interesting where he like cuts up old stock footage and like old public domain footage and like puts together like a little kind of video collage of it. And I think that's a really cool idea, but I don't want to steal his idea, obviously. But I don't know. I would have to come up with my own interesting way to do it, I guess.
Have you thought at all about doing anything of the sort for the whole Lovable Losers album?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think by the time I put something together, I'd be wanting to like focus on some new music. I kind of have like a short attention span, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool, a cool thing to do, but I just haven't had any great ideas for one yet.
So can you kind of take us through like why the name Lovable Losers, and how did you decide which songs to choose for your latest project?
Yeah, so Lovable Losers is a kind of, I don't know, it sums up the kind of characters I tend to write about. They tend to be people that are not winning at life, um, people that are struggling. And it's taken kind of from the Billy Joe Shaver song Honky Tonk Heroes. Is the line, "Lovable losers, no account boozers, and honky tonk heroes like me." So I kind of stole it from there. And those are just kind of the newest batch of songs. It wasn't like any, there wasn't any much else in terms of choosing those ones. They were just the newest ones.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that like almost all of the songs that you write have a particular character to them?
Yeah, there's definitely similarities. Like I tend to revisit a lot of topics. Similar. Oh, do you mean like each song has its own character?
I mean, either way you wanted to take the question.
Yeah, I mean, I like to try to write from character. I don't really write super autobiographical, or when I do, it's more like a jumping off point, and then I like to sort of bring in like a kind of fictionalized elements as well to mix in there.
Yeah. So maybe like repeated themes, but not necessarily repeated characters in and of themselves.
Yeah, I have a couple of songs where like a character will come back from another one, and I'm kind of interested in doing that, but I haven't done it a lot.
Yeah. So you also mentioned that you've been, playing these songs around. How has it been finding gigs? What has that been like for you?
Yeah, it seems like almost impossible at first, but it's picked up quite a bit recently. I travel around a lot. I live in like a very rural area, so I have to kind of drive all over the place to get to various gigs. So I play up here. In Burlington, I've played a show in Boston, I played in Saratoga, I played in Northampton, Mass, and it's been good. Like I said, it's been picking up quite a bit.
Nice. So what is your performance background specifically? Like how long have you been kind of doing what you're doing and playing around?
I've only been playing these songs live, or any of my songs live, for about a year, a little under a year.
Mm-hmm. Any gigs coming up that we should know about, or dream place that you would like to play?
Yeah, I have some gigs coming up actually in this area. Not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, July 1st. I'm going to be playing at Radio Bean. And then the next Wednesday, I think it's the 6th, I'm going to be at, or maybe it's the 4th, I'm going to be at Bent Nails Bistro in Montpelier.
Gotcha. And so how do you kind of like go about booking these? Do you kind of like reach out to these places?
Yeah, I just reach out to places, but recently actually places have reached out to me, which is kind of cool. Like a couple of places have hit me up.
Yeah, definitely.
And offered me things, which is a really nice feeling.
Mm-hmm. Do you kind of plan on staying in the New England area to continue playing? Do you have any aspirations to sort of go elsewhere?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay living where I'm living and just kind of, tour, drive around where I need to go.
Mm-hmm. Did you say that you were born in Vermont, or you went to college here?
Yeah, I was born in southern Vermont in Bellows Falls, where I live now, actually.
Gotcha.
I went to college up here at St. Michael's in Colchester.
Oh, nice. Okay. Do you feel like the Vermont heritage plays into your songwriting at all?
I don't know. I think the town that I grew up in definitely influences it. I think Bellows Falls it's a very kind of a rough little working class town, and there's a lot of odd characters there, and at least it seems to me there are, and I think that had a big influence. But statewide, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Do you have any stories of like a particular person that inspired a song? One of the characters. Have you ever been inspired by, something that you either like witnessed or someone you met?
Yeah. Let me think about a good example of that. I have a song that's very loosely based off this guy that used to work at a video rental store that I went to when I was in high school back in town, and his sort of dreams of being a hip hop artist. And I'm not sure what happened to that guy, but I sort of wrote a song and filled in like a future for him, hypothetical.
Yeah, make like a Mad Lib for him. Just fill in the dots.
I gave him like a happy ending of what I think he would want for a future.
There you go.
Just kind of putting that goodwill out in the universe. Hopefully it helped him in some way.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so in terms of upcoming performances, you have 2 coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And do you plan on kind of setting aside some time for, you kind of said that you work at thinking up your music and writing it in specific time chunks. Do you foresee that happening soon?
Yeah, I kind of have like October's in my head as a time, maybe, or November, December.
Yeah.
Just kind of a time to hunker down and write some stuff.
Do you tend to have like a timeline of like when you typically, release things or write things?
No, it's kind of just whenever it happens.
Gotcha. Well, we would love to hear your next song. So what have you got?
Sure. This is a song from an album I put out in 2020 called Free Couch, and the song is called Birds in the Attic. There are birds living in the attic. There are squirrels running through the walls. There are rats chewing through the plastic. There are javelinas grazing where there used to be a mall. And the porch collapses, crushes me inside as I think about the things that once were mine. There's a fist fight in the parking lot over one last scrap of food. You used to love me, I used to love you too. There are gypsies combing through the wreckage. There are warlords vying for control. And even the most powerful among them will begin to lose advantage once the sickness takes its hold. And the gods have vacated their throne, allowed the lower beings to run amok. Wood sprites and satyrs colonize our home as the cars succumb to rust and the porch collapses, crushes me inside. As I assure you everything is fine. The clouds are dark as night, the sky's no longer blue. You used to love me, I used to love you too. You used to love me, I used to love you too. You used to love me, I used to love you too.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we always like to give the opportunity to sort of promote yourself. So if you could just let all of the listeners know where you're playing once again, and then all of the platforms we can find your music on, all of that jazz.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm going to be playing in this area, not this weekend, but the next weekend. So Friday, July 1st, I'm going to be at Radio Bean at 7 o'clock, and then I'm going to be at Bent Nails Bistro that next Wednesday in Montpelier. And Dylan Patrick Ward, and you can find me like everywhere, Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. I'm on all of those platforms as Dylan Patrick Ward.
Awesome. And if, there was like one message or theme that you would want any listeners to get out of, listening to your music, what would you say it would be? It's kind of a deep question, but
I guess life is cruel, so be kind.
Yeah.
A little corny, but
I like it. And be a lovable loser, I guess.
yeah, right.
And then that kind of just made me think of another question. Do you have like a specific character that, I don't know, you maybe have like an attachment to more than others? I think it's so interesting that you have, characters that you come up with. Is there one maybe with this release too that...
Yeah, there's a song on this album called Rusty the Snowman, and it's kind of like the most popular song that I have. I should have played it, but whatever.
Yeah, we have some more time if you'd want to.
Okay, I could play that one. Yeah, it's sort of my most popular song, and I think it's the best one, and it's my favorite of mine. And it's a character that I really relate to. It's just kind of like a existentially depressed snowman made out of slush from the road. I'll play it. It'll speak louder than any of the words that I can say about it.
Go right ahead.
Rusty the snowman is made out of slush. yard by the side of the road. An old Newport light butt hung from his mouth. Rocks were his eyes and his nose. And the kids found a hat in the dumpster out back of the pharmacy on their way home. Put it on his head, and the snowman, he said, life's a bitch and we all die alone. Rusty the snowman smoked and he drank and liked to watch court shows all day. He said life is sick, just an old dirty trick that only a cruel God would play. Thought it'd be nice just to be some ice, a puddle and an old gray cloud. Dreamt of the day when he'd melt away and sink like rain into the ground. Christmas and New Year's had both gone by. So at Valentine's Day, one little girl came to say her goodbyes with a sad little look on her face. She said, Rusty, I know that you're a jerk, but even so, I wish there was a way you could stay. So to please her, he moved into the freezer, and that's where he lives to this day. Rusty the snowman. Rusty the snowman.
Rusty the Snowman. That's a very unique character. Do you kind of want to elaborate a little bit more on, why that particular song is so special to you?
I think it sort of encapsulates like what the worldview is of a lot of the songs, where you have a character who's very kind of beaten down by life, and he sort of finds something to make it worth continuing on, something to kind of give him a reason to live on despite the crueler parts of existence. So
definitely. Well, I love that. Well, you can listen to Rusty the Snowman and the rest of the songs on Lovable Losers by Dylan Patrick Ward. And this has been Rocket Shop on 105.9 FM, The Radiator, WOMMLP Burlington. And next week we have Ben Collins and the Celestial Company. So stay tuned for that. I've been your host, Abby BK, and we hope you have a wonderful night. Good night. Woohoo!
thank you.
So awesome.